I want to get this out before we get to the vitiligo and whether or not he bleaches his skin, except he's a virgin. Okay, that's unusual, but it's not really hyper weird. Does he, Randy, live a hyper weird life?
You know, I have to tell you, I think that Michael Jackson is probably not as weird as we think he is, but he's a lot weirder than he thinks he is. And but Michael is a very tough businessman. People don't know this about him. He's running a huge corporation. He runs it with an iron fist, actually. He's a very competitive person. He's normal in many ways. However, when he gets in front of a camera and tries to present himself to his public, he comes off as sort of being a Peter Pan guy. But nobody who is running a company and who's made as much money as Michael Jackson can be Peter Pan.
No,
so
he whipped, as you had in your book, he whipped Paul McCartney on that business deal, bought the Beatles songs right out from under McCartney. McCartney hesitated, and Michael bought 251 Beatles songs. He owns them now. McCartney doesn't.
There's one other thing where he, telling the truth in that show, is when he claims that he never forced MTV to start calling him the king of pop. That is evidently a lie. I mean, supposedly he put great pressure. He said, if you want to show the video, I have to be promoted as king of pop. And he picked the name, and he made them use it.
And my sources say the same thing.
And you know, my sources tell me that too. And I don't understand.
Wow, 3 for 3.
With Michael, it seems to me that he would be much more credible if he would just admit that, because that's just a smart move. It doesn't really say anything negative about him as much as it does say how he is as a businessman. There's nothing wrong with admitting something like that.
Let's get to the vitiligo. Richard, do you believe that Michael was telling the truth when he says that he is suffering from this rare skin disorder, and that's why his face is turning so white?
I think I'd be more inclined to believe it if LaToya said she had it too, because they look to be the same shade to me.
You'll hear it from LaToya, but I want to ask Randy now.
Well, I don't know. Anybody who knows Michael Jackson knows how sensitive and compassionate this guy is in many ways, and I can't imagine that he would come up with a skin disease as emotionally devastating as this one and use it to exploit it for his own purposes. So yes, I believe him.
Michael?
We believe that he does. The picture in the National Enquirer, that very revealing picture where you suddenly see his, you know, Michael is always concealing his arms and his hands, and that's why he started with the glove. That was the real reason, yes. And if you look at that picture, and you will see his hand is white, and then suddenly here abruptly it turns black. Now,
look at that.
So
you didn't know the picture. You didn't know the picture was being taken.
That's
had
right.
no gloves on.
Right.
No tape.
It was right. And so now, beyond that, since then, I have learned, I have been told by a source on the Oprah Winfrey Show that he at one point actually showed them. It didn't get on camera, of course. He was just showing them off camera. He rolled up his sleeve, and that the skin was mottled. There were blotches.
Michael, are the next guests nearby? Can you just ask them to come running right out before I take this commercial break? I just want to remind people what, you know, Randy so accurately called an emotionally devastating disease vitiligo is and what it looks like. We have people in our audience who suffer from it. But here, is that Rochelle? All right, there's Rochelle, Nancy, and David. Now look at David's face. Now, David, did you ever think of using makeup to cover to make your skin kind of uniform?
Oh no, because I'm a man and I don't like wearing makeup.
You don't like? Do you believe Michael Jackson, David?
Huh?
You believe he's telling the truth?
According to his arm, it looks like it.
It does look like it, doesn't it? Can you hold your hands up? Just hold it by your face there. You can see that is amazing. Now, is that Rochelle? Yes. And that, you see, Rochelle has it, I guess, around your mouth area there, and that it starts there, the extremities, right? Eyes, mouth. That's where it starts? And your hands also. Can you hold those up? Thank you. And Nancy, let's just take a quick look at Nancy. There, she has it. Notice the kind of, I think they even call it owl look, and she has to. And when Michael Jackson was always wearing the sunglasses, was he hiding a Nancy-like?
And the surgical mask. You remember the surgical mask?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, that's when it first began.
Okay. What we're also going to do, aside from talking to Nancy, David, and Rochelle, is to demonstrate through an expert how makeup can be used to blend, as, you know, Michael Jackson never lets anyone see him without makeup, right?
It's true. And
how makeup can be used to give someone a uniform skin color one way or the other. The real Michael Jackson syndrome, the focus of this edition of For All That. Michael Jackson syndrome. Our question. Today, yes.
Yes, how come Michael took 14 years for this to come out?
You mean the vitiligo?
Yeah. How come he didn't tell us earlier?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, it wasn't 14 years ago. I don't believe that he contracted it. I think it was more like, right. And that's, when he started wearing the mask, etc.
You know, and it's a tough disease, and I think that you have to understand that when this happened to Michael Jackson, he was at the peak of his fame with Thriller, and he always had his childhood was riddled with insecurities. He had a skin condition when he was a kid, which he talked about on
Incidentally,
Oprah.
no one doubts that his father was an abusive
His
parent.
father called him ugly. Why do you think he had all this plastic surgery?
He was emotionally as well as physically
course.
abused.
So to have this happen to him at that point was devastating, I'm sure, and that's probably why he didn't come forward sooner.
Okay, let's run that clip from the Joan Rivers show of LaToya Jackson. Let's hear what LaToya had to say about Michael's alleged condition.
I have never heard of a skin disorder in our family. I've seen this disease before.
Oh, I have too.
On other people, and which, you know, it's fine, but I look the other way because I'm the kind of person that I think if you look at something long enough, you may get it.
Yeah.
And I would always look the other way. And I would say, oh my God, and I'd look the other way out of embarrassment, of course, for them and then for myself as well. Like, I don't want to get this, but no, I've never known that to run in our family, no.
Just a message to Donnie, the director. What I want you to do is freeze LaToya and then put Michael in the same frame. I want to see them side by side. You know, because LaToya obviously is makeup. I mean, she admits it, right, Richard? I mean, she's just...
When I interviewed LaToya on my radio show, we went into this. A guy actually called up and said something very cruel. He said, well, you and Michael should get the Clorox concession or something. It was a nasty thing to say. And I called the guy on it, but the guy called, said right back to me, yeah, well, let her explain it. And I said, LaToya, how do you explain this?
She's got the same exact nose, too. I mean she really is looking more and more like he is, except for her shape, her body is a little different.
But she could not explain, and even there she doesn't explain. If that's the case, we've all seen pictures of LaToya years ago, and we know that she is a different color now than she was then.
Here, we've got this ready. Take a look at that, folks. Now, either LaToya is carefully studying her brother and trying to mimic his look, or I don't know. I don't know what conclusion to draw by the fact that they do look so similar.
They could be the same person.
Oh, I heard that too.
I've never seen them together.
You never see
And I
them
heard
together.
Elvis is alive too. That's right. Yes.
I must say, I did watch the interview. I enjoyed it, and I believe Michael Jackson more than I do you three slime balls, as opposed to...
Based on what?
Why is he a slime?
That's an easy term to sling around. Based on what?
exactly the credibility he gains from what these three people show.
Credibility. I just showed you pictures that were given to us by Michael Jackson.
From what you
Where's
say.
Michael Jackson? I haven't seen him come out and complain about our story.
Okay. From what you say, I do want to commend these three people for showing up. I think you guys should be in the front of the stage. These guys shouldn't be on the stage at all.
All right. Okay. Well, he says not to buy the Inquirer now. Michael Jackson says not to buy it. I mean, that really must
I
irk
have seen no difference in sales.
Yeah, well, at least one subscriber out in California. Okay, let's go to folks who are really suffering from this devastating condition. Rochelle, the lady in the red and white, suffers from vitiligo. As you can see, it's caused discoloration, and I guess it's all over your body, right?
Well, it used to be about 90% of the body. Now I've taken PUVA treatments, and it's just the hands.
What are those treatments called again?
Called PUVA treatments.
PUVA. And what is that?
It's an ultraviolet treatment. You take a medication, and it rejuvenates the pigment cells when you go inside this booth.
Okay, okay. And are you really afraid to go out of your house because people call you names?
I used to.
What do they call you?
Oh, she looks like a monster, or you were in a fire, or something's wrong with you. And, just any, I mean, these are adults, not just kids.
Really? Now, Nancy, is it true that you've lost your confidence because of the condition?
Yes.
How has it affected you? Do you stay indoors?
I don't stay indoors because I have to work, and I use makeup as best I can, and I've gotten pretty good with it because, I have to...
Can Diane Rupus, our expert, put makeup on you now to show how it can happen? Diane Rupus is the national spokesperson for the Dermablend Cosmetics. They manufacture the makeup that many people use to blend their skin, as Michael apparently does, to give them